Essentia Health is a proud sponsor of Grandma's Marathon each year. And as part of, by signing up for one of these races and showing up today, you have all shown your own commitment to your health. And we want to know that we are here to partner with you through your training, on race day, and beyond. In a moment, you'll hear from some of our team about the resources Essentia can offer you to make your race experience both fun and successful. The importance of good training cannot be overstated, as this is your primary tool for preventing most running-related injuries and illnesses. Paying attention to how you feel through your training is equally important, as addressing any developing issues early on can speed your recovery and prevent long-term problems. We strongly encourage all racers, whether in the marathon, half marathon, or 5K, to follow a quality training plan, and if anything comes up in your training, including aches, pains, or illness, to seek help from a qualified provider. If you're looking for help in your training, please check in with Tony Stensland of the running group to talk through what he's got going on as part of the official Grandma's Marathon training group. It's a great group of people to hang out with. You can also find excellent primary care and orthopedic providers here at Essentia if you find yourself in need of some help with something coming up. And on race day, if something happens and things don't go entirely according to plan, our medical team will be there, but please don't have that happen.
I will be getting you up and moving around a little bit after I share some verbal information, but don't worry, it's not mandatory, totally optional. You're welcome to practice the exercises with me, but I'm not going to force anybody. Before I start, I do want to know who's going to be doing a Grandma's Race for the first time this year. Anyone? Nice! Oh, wonderful. Awesome. Okay. How many people in here are intending to do the half marathon? A lot. Okay, and then how many for the full marathon? Awesome, good, pretty good mixed bag. Okay, so that just tells me I want to know like how many first timers we have, how many far people we have, and so what I'm going to talk about today are 3 things you can do during your training to prevent a musculoskeletal injury. Now some things are obviously unpreventable. We can do all the balance training and strength training we want and still hit a hidden patch of ice and sprain something. But there are a lot of things that we can reduce our risk of. The most common injuries that half marathon, marathon runners sustain are ones that are called overuse injuries. Now the word overuse obviously sounds like it happens from too much training, but that's a little bit of an oversimplification. Overuse happens when we just do more training load than what our bodies can handle. So the things that I'm gonna show you are things that you can do to help your bodies tolerate the load. So you can train lots of miles, but still recover and adapt and respond to that training. So thing number 1 that I'm gonna mention is making sure to sleep enough and eat enough. I'm mentioning this one first because we're not going to go into it in super detail and we're going to save most of our time for the exercises, but sleeping is when our bodies do their recovery. That's when adaptations happen. When we're asleep, our bodies are producing growth hormone and they're stitching our muscles back together from the damage we've done to them throughout the day. So making sure to get a quality night's sleep as often as you possibly can. I know life happens, but to sleep really well while you're training is very important for your recovery. Similarly, making sure to eat enough. It can get tough when you start getting into those long runs, like replacing the calories you lose from a 20-mile long run. It might not even happen on that day. So making sure that you're eating enough all throughout your training to support that. Our body uses caloric energy for everything we do, like our bones repairing, our muscles repairing, everything, our hair growing, everything needs energy. So making sure that all of our body processes can still happen while we're also asking it to do a lot of exercise takes quality food. All right, so we'll put those things aside now. Next up, we're going to talk about strength training. Right now, in the winter, when the miles aren't getting super high, is a fantastic time to start laying down your strength training. Having strong muscles and tendons is what helps us absorb the force when we're running, and it helps propel us forward. I'm gonna start off by showing you guys some strength training exercises and how we can progress those. So I'm gonna show you some that are just basic movements, and then we're gonna progress into how to make those into single leg exercises, because if you think about it, running is really a single leg activity. At any given point, if you were to do a freeze frame photograph of you while you're running, only one leg is on the ground, the other one's in the air. And there even is a moment where we are in flight and there are no feet on the ground. And so making sure that you have really good balance, single leg stability, single leg strength, very important. And even though we know that running requires endurance, and we think of it as being only an endurance exercise, there's also a lot of power involved. Like, we have to be able to push off powerfully. So after we go through the basic exercises and the single leg exercises, I'm going to show you how to do a power movement. So this is going to be, for some of you, this will probably be a review. For some of you, it might be new, but let's give it a shot. Stick your butt back behind you like you're trying to put your butt in your chair. Keep your eyes and chest up so you're looking forward. Right now, you should feel your glutes, hamstrings, and quads all engaging, and then come up. All right, so basic squat. Depending on where you are in your strength training journey, you can do this just by itself, or you can add weight, obviously. Now, to turn this into a single leg movement, what I'm going to have everybody do is go down into that squat position, shift your weight to one side or the other. Yeah, all right, so right there, that's step one. So for those of you who are totally brand new to single leg exercises, this can be all you need to do, and you'll really, really feel that. Now, if you're a little more advanced and you want to lift that other leg up, there you go, and then straighten up from there. All right. And then if you're at the top of your game and you're feeling really good about it, you can start from just a standing position, balance on that one leg, and go sink down into that squat. All right. I do these all day, every day. The most important thing you want to make sure when you're doing the single leg squat is that your knees are staying over your toes and that your thigh is not collapsing inward. If that's happening, that's bad. Don't do that. All right, and then to turn the squat into a power exercise, super simple, we're just gonna make it a jump. Now, before I start that, I wanna make sure that if you're doing the jump, you're landing very softly, land with your knees bent. When I teach these to kids, I call them frog jumps because you want to be bouncy like a frog the whole time. Sorry, don't squeak like a frog. Sometimes I also even make them put their fingertips on the ground to make sure that they're bending their knees deep enough. So it's just gonna look like this. Down into your squat, up, right back down. So land, knees soft, don't land with your knees locked down. All right, there you go. You don't need to do a lot of those, like 10, 15, you're really gonna feel it. All right, so we're gonna keep on going right through the progression. Our next one, very similar, is a lunge. So the regular movement is just stepping forward into a 90-90 hip knee position. Good. To turn that one into a single leg exercise, you'll do that with your back foot on something. So if those of you who want to can put your back foot up on your chair, and you're just going to do a little lunge with one leg behind you. And to turn that into a power movement, it's a lunge jump or a scissors jump. So that's going to look like this.
Oh, yeah.
All right, good. There's a couple doing it, that's all right. All right, so similar progression for just about any exercise, any strength training exercise that exists. You can move them along that progression. You can start with the normal exercise, take it to a single leg, take it to a power movement. Like I said, now is a great time in the training to be doing that. Once the miles start getting high, it gets tough to have the time for everything, to have the motivation and the energy for everything. So making sure you're doing your strength training now can be really helpful. I'm talking really fast, I'm gonna take a breath. All right. The third thing we're gonna talk about is doing a proper dynamic warm-up and cool down. A lot of times, and I know I'm guilty of this sometimes too, we go right into our run, we just go out the door and start, and then we've got busy days ahead, so we just shower and go about our lives. Many of the injuries that I've seen in my practice happen because people are not doing a proper warm-up, or they're finishing their run and then they're just going and sitting down at their desk for 8 hours and stuff happens to the hips, the low back. So we're going to go through just some dynamic movements that you can do prior to a run. So for starters, so walking, ankle grab. So I'm just going to pretend I'm walking here. You can also do this if you don't have a lot of space where you're warming up. You can just walk in place. It doesn't have to be traveling around. All right, so this just stretches the quads. All right, and then we're going to go into a knee grab. Pick your leg up, grab your knee, lift it as high as you can. It doesn't have to be chest height. It's just whatever a grab is for you. Okay. And then for hamstrings, this next one is my absolute favorite, the hamstring scoop. So you're gonna step one foot forward, reach down towards your foot. I love this one, I could do it all day, but I promise I won't. And then one more that we're gonna show, this is one, the figure 4. So taking some steps, yeah, another favorite. Awesome. Cool, and then for after a run, so I mentioned dynamic beforehand. We don't want to be static stretching our muscles beforehand. So we don't want to just stand there and hold something for a long time and not be moving it. That can actually cause some injuries. It also has been shown to reduce our power and reduce performance, which is not what you want before a run, especially before a race. We don't want to reduce our muscle power before we go out and try to run. But doing some of those slower, static things can be okay post-run when your muscles are warmed up. I also like doing that then because it gives you a couple moments to check in with your body afterwards and be like, oh gosh, when I try to stretch this thing, I feel something. But you can be aware of that then rather than just go throughout the day and ignore it. And that also gives you some time to just loosen things up, stretch them out after all that repetitive motion. When you run for half an hour, you're just doing the same thing over and over and over. Muscles are fatiguing. They need a chance to cool down afterwards.
Well, thank you and good morning. I do see some familiar faces out there, and that's great to see. For those of you I have not met, my name is Joey DeVligger. I'm a physical therapist here at Essentia, specialize in seeing runners and lead to our running evaluation program. Now, whether you're newer to running or you have decades under your belt, novice, elite, I'm sure you've all had a volume of information thrown at you as far as what you should do, what you shouldn't do, and it becomes a little bit more confusing in the midst of a setback. And so our running evaluation program is designed to take a bit of the guesswork out and really kind of drill down to the key things that when addressed is going to yield you the greatest results. So if you have concerns about weakness, discomfort while running, if your running is limited by pain, or if you have just this nagging reoccurring injury, the running evaluation program is a great option for you. So what's really included, what do we actually do? First we look at your running history, of course. But we pair that with your medical history and how those two things may impact one another. Our conversations are going to include things that like help us identify maybe training error, inadequate rest recovery cycles. We'll certainly talk about cross training, strength training, and those things. Ultimately, load management is what we'll drive at. And honestly, whatever else is pertinent to your unique history. We understand that you're all unique individuals. No two runners are alike. Next, we'll look at a full biomechanical assessment. Running is a full body activity, and so alignment, bony structure, joint mobility within the spine, hip, knee, ankle, it all really does matter. Included also is a functional movement screening. I'm really glad that we did that movement-based stuff there. That felt really good. But we're going to look in this as it relates to both quality and quantity of ranges of motion throughout your body. We're going to look at your current footwear, of course, discuss some options that might better support your running style and help you accomplish your goals. We'll be assessing your strength, isolated, but both isolated and compound kind of functional strengthening. We'll look at power, we'll look at endurance, flexibility, we'll look at your nervous system, the mobility of that. And when indicated, we'll look also at some musculoskeletal testing based on how you're presenting. We will conduct a 2D video motion analysis and look at your running form. Now, some things we might look at are joint angles at initial contact or at mid-stance, where your center of mass is relative to your lower extremities, your cadence, your vertical oscillation, and all sorts of things. But with the understanding that there is no perfect running form, asymmetries are common and they may or may not be relevant. Again, each runner is unique and you have a unique history, unique genetic profile. Your tissue durability is unique to you or lack thereof, which is kind of what I end up seeing. And that all has to be taken into consideration. At the end, based on relevant findings, we'll have a physical therapy diagnosis, a custom exercise program will be created, possible running form modifications and/or drills will be prescribed, and when needed, we'll recommend follow-up appointments. We'll collaborate with your running coach or your medical provider, so that is seamless. And that essentially is the running evaluation program. And so if you have any other questions or you think that's a good fit for you, I'll be back at the back table and happy to answer any of your questions.
First thing is, I saw some people raise their hands as in regards to being a first timer for the half marathon or marathon. Who were those people again? I want to start with a question, maybe pick on you a little bit, because we get a lot of first timers and novice runners into our store this time of year, preparing for Grandma's and other events. But say you go into Tortoise and Hare or Duluth Running or Austin Jaro, and you're looking for a pair of running shoes. Is there anything else that you're asking for? Is there anything that you are looking for in this pair of shoes at all? Well, when people come in this time of year, we hear the same things over and over. I need a pair of shoes with good cush and good support. And those mean a lot of different things in our industry. So first of all, in regards to cushioning, all of these shoes have it. They're all designed to slow down your impact when you land, help you push off a little bit faster as you go to your forefoot and take the next step. But what does support mean? Does anybody know what support in a shoe is? No. So all these shoes have support. It's just what type of support. So at Tortoise and Hare, we break our shoes down into these different categories. And we do very broad strokes. We try to make it easy, but there's more and more levels to this. But basically, there's shoes that have a wide platform and are firm, wide platform and are soft, a kind of curved, more fitted platform that are firm, curved fitted platform that are soft. So how do you know what type of support you need? Well, we got to look at your feet. So as Zach mentioned, we have a machine over there. His name's Albert. He helps us determine what your feet look like and how they move. So it does a really, really in-depth analysis. A 3D mapping measures your length, your width, how high your arches are, how high your insteps are, measures all of this down to the 100th of a centimeter. So we get a really exact fitting. And then it looks at your pressure points when you're standing, and then it looks at your pressure as you take a step across. We compare those things and determine which one of these levels of support we think you should start in. We've got 50 different styles of running shoes, just like road shoes in store. All of them have varying degrees of this support and cushion. So really what we suggest is you got to try these things on. You're going to get a lot of, like if you do your internet research, become an informed consumer, you're going to get a lot of suggestions for best running shoe, best new style, best brand, best thing for flat feet, best thing for high arches. You're going to get more information than you even care to look at. So I compare it all the time to shopping or going to the eye doctor. Like maybe your mom ran Grandma's last year and she did it in the Brooks Adrenaline and it worked out great for her. And she says, you should go to Tortoise and Hare, try out the Brooks Adrenaline. Well, that's great, but if you told your mom that you're not seeing as well as you did last year, and she hands you her glasses, it's pretty unlikely that those are gonna work for you. So go into the store, whether it's my store or one of the other great shops in town, try on several different styles, try on different levels of this support. Don't buy your shoes online. Savannah, my fiance over there, she runs Tortoise and Hare's website, and we had our best sales year on our website ever. We did $50,000 in sales on our website last year. Savannah, would you recommend any of those people to buy shoes online? No. Go into the store, try stuff out. Yeah, and just get a good feel for it. Your feet have the answers to what's right I don't, I just have the shoes and I'm gonna put them on your feet. So listen to your feet, that is the best indicator for all of this. Another common question we get this time of year is how long do shoes last? And I always jokingly say, 2 or 3 weeks. We should be switching those out pretty frequently. No, it's more mileage based. There's levels to this as well, like our daily trainers though, which is the vast majority of what we sell. Most of these brands are going to tell you between 300 and 500 miles. Of course, Christina Nistler was wearing the Mount to Coast. They're saying 600 to 700 miles. Have you gotten that far on those yet, Christina?
Not quite. I think I'm at like 250 right
Okay.
now.
Good. So there's varying levels into how long these shoes are going to last, and a lot of it depends on a list of factors. I mean, I'm running at 205. That's my weight. Some of you are running at significantly less than that. If we train for the marathon together and you weigh 150 and I'm at 205, there's a really good chance that I wear out that same pair of shoes faster than you do. Conversely, if we train for the marathon and we wear the same pair of shoes and I do all my training on the treadmill and you do yours on a gravel road, I'm probably still gonna wear out that pair of shoes faster than you are, but it closes the gap a little bit. But so there's so many factors, and again, it's just about listening to your feet, listening to your body and how everything is moving and feeling. A lot of people ask about break-in period for these shoes as well. There's really not that anymore. Like we sell hundreds of pairs of shoes at Grandma's Expo every year, and at least 10 pair get put on the feet and are worn the very next day. So if you have a good pair of shoes that you trust, say it's that Asics Kayano, you've been training in it, you think they're getting a little bit tired and you got to wear something fresh for the race. I think that's pretty safe when you're going from a shoe you're already in to a shoe that to a fresh pair of the same thing. Unfortunately, these things do change a lot. So you wear that Asics Kayano this year and it's fantastic, and then you come into the shoe store next year, and what's happened is Asics has modified that shoe slightly, 1 or 2 millimeters based on like how high the heel sits over your toes or how much thicker the shoe gets, and a couple millimeters doesn't seem like a lot, but it's again with the glasses analogy, the eye doctor analogy. If you could go into the doctor and try to get the same frames, but they change 2 millimeters on the nose bridge, all of a sudden the glasses are sliding down your nose. It's not the right fit anymore. And not only that, you expect your eyes to change when you go see the optometrist. Your feet are gonna change too. Everybody's arches flatten out, your feet get wider, your feet get longer. So if you are, like me, closing in on your 20th high school graduation reunion, like my feet are not the same as they were 20 years ago. So if you're wearing the same size shoes that you did in high school, it's very likely an incorrect size. Other features, other accessories, we sell a lot of insoles as well. Albert helps us with that too. We have things that can just kind of specialize and take that fit to the next level. When we look at my feet on Albert, my arches are in the 95th percentile. So I've got super, super high arches. And I buy shoes that are designed for super high arches. The problem is these brands want to sell a lot of those shoes. So if they're just aiming for 95th percentile arch type, they're not going to sell very many of them. So if you're an outlier in any of these categories about your feet, the shoes probably aren't designed for you. But we can take insoles to match your high arch or match your low arch a little bit more specifically. We can just kind of nail in that fit even better. Socks are another level of support. Everything that we carry, moisture wicking, has spandex and compression around your heels and arches. If you are doing this race for the first time and you're wearing or you go to Walmart for a 20-pack of Hanes socks, it's a different experience than getting a good pair of technical running socks. We sell a lot of compression sleeves. If you have joint pain, my knees bug me, shin splints, we have calf sleeves, we have knee sleeves, we have things for your ankles, for IT bands. If something's bugging you, we have an idea at least to help you get through it, help your body feel better. And just in closing, like I started running a couple years ago. I kind of got into it thinking shoes were going to be all you need to get out there and go. My training for the last race I did in October, I had my New Balance 1080s. I wore Cadence Met Pad insoles inside that. I laced them up with the Caterpie stretchy laces that fit over the top of my high instep even better. I have OS First compression socks, OS First knee sleeves. I wore my Amphipod water bottle and reflective gear that can fit all the goo and my phone and my headphones, and my Gooder sunglasses. So yeah, there's shoes, that's the most important part, but we've got a whole other ideas to turn this hobby into whatever you want it to be. So yeah, if there's any other questions, we're over there at the table. Come say hi and we'll talk shoes and feet.
Many of you might know me as the 2024 Garry Bjorklund Half Marathon champion, but my journey with Grandma's Marathon actually began long before that, in 2011, when I first ran the marathon in a time of 3 hours and 42 minutes. That summer, fresh out of 8th grade, I was determined to prove a point. 6 months earlier, my uncle had said, "There's no way you could run a marathon," after we were in the middle of a debate about running. If you tell me I can't do something, that's all the motivation I need to prove you wrong. I'll channel everything I have into proving you wrong. My training plan, soccer practice, and a long run once a week. It's a plan I wouldn't recommend to anyone, and I definitely wouldn't do again. The week of the marathon, my 8th grade class had a school trip to Washington, D.C. For 3 days, we walked from sunrise to sunset, visiting every museum and monument you could imagine. On the very first day, I got pink eye. Humiliating, yes, but also incredibly painful. By the time I returned home, I was exhausted, but I was also excited to channel all my discomfort into the marathon just a few days later. The race itself was unforgettable. I was so ready to feel a different kind of pain other than eye pain that I was genuinely enjoying every mile, almost every mile. By the final 3 miles, my legs were so tired, I had to stop and walk. An older gentleman, probably in his 70s, ran past me and offered some simple but encouraging words. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was enough to get me moving again. Crossing that finish line was pure joy. I didn't care about my time, I was just proud to finish. And I could finally say, "I told you so," to my uncle who doubted me. Looking back, that race was a turning point. I've always loved running, but Grandma's Marathon was one of many catalysts that set me on a path towards success in high school, college, and eventually as a professional. In high school, my proudest moment was winning the Wisconsin State cross-country title during my senior year. In college, it was earning All-American honors in cross-country at Iowa State University, again, my senior year. At the time, I didn't think a professional running career was in the cards for me. That changed when Katie German, an Iowa State alum, reached out to me and told me about a team she was a part of called Minnesota Distance Elite, based in Minneapolis. I soon met with the coach, Chris Lindwurm. His calm demeanor was exactly what I needed after the chaos of college athletics. I was sold. I moved to Minneapolis, started a graphic design internship, and joined the team. It was a whole new chapter for me, a chance to shape my career on my own terms. I started running more mileage than ever before, and the results came quickly. My first professional race was the Medtronic Twin Cities 10 mile, which was also the USATF 10 mile championships, where I placed 5th and won $3,000. For me at the time, it was life-changing money. But success isn't a straight line. Shortly after that, injuries and the COVID era forced running to take a back seat. I threw myself into my career as a graphic designer and found joy in having a different competitive outlet. Through it all, my coach Chris stuck by me, even meeting me at 6 a.m. to open the track so I could squeeze in workouts before my 8 a.m. meetings. I wasn't nailing every workout, far from it, but I kept showing up. Fast forward to today, 6 years later, and I've had my share of highs and lows. I've run 6 marathons, faced injuries, signed a contract with Puma, left my day job, and competed at distances ranging from the mile to the marathon. But 2024 brought me one of the most meaningful victories of my career, winning the Garry Bjorklund Half Marathon. To understand why it meant so much to me, I need to take you back to February at the Olympic trials in Orlando. I placed 10th, far from my goal of top 3 and qualifying for the Paris Olympics. It was devastating. I even told my coach, I hate the marathon, I'm never running one again. Of course, I would run another marathon, but I needed time to heal. I gave myself permission to feel the heartbreak, but I didn't stay there for long. Running has taught me that setbacks are temporary and there's always another finish line to chase. Several weeks later, I began a series of races culminating in the Garry Bjorklund Half Marathon as my season finale. Each race, I grew stronger, more confident, but a win kept eluding me. I began to wonder if I was capable of crossing the finish line first. The night before the race, my team and I went to the famous Grandma's Pasta Party. There wasn't enough space for us all to sit together, so we scattered into groups. As I got up to leave, I stopped to say goodnight to my teammate Dakotah, who many of you may know as the Queen of Grandmas, since she's had so much success here. As I walk up to her table, we talk about the next day's race strategy, any last-minute things, and as I turn to leave, her dad jokes, "We'll see who wins tomorrow." It was clear it was down to the two of us, and while I love Dakotah, I wanted to beat her. The next morning, race morning, I'm on autopilot, going through all the motions of the things I do before every race. Wake up, eat my oatmeal, drink my coffee, do my hair and makeup, pin my bib to my jersey. I walk out the door feeling excited. Could this be it? Could this be the time I take the win? Dakotah and I made a plan in the weeks leading up to the race to work together. We both knew we were at the top of our game and fit. We thought a personal record was possible for both of us that day. We told ourselves we were going to go out at 68-minute pace, roughly 5:11 per mile. Gun goes off. First mile, 5:05. Dakotah looks at her watch and over to me and says, well, well, well. We both know that we always go out too fast. But this is only 5 seconds faster, so I say it could be worse. I look up, For some reason that day, 5:05 to 5:10 pace feels relaxed. And the group I'm running with, along with Dakotah, starts to slow just slightly. I look up and see a pack ahead about 15 meters. I make the difficult decision to pick up the pace and catch them so I can follow whatever pace they are going. I knew this meant ditching our plan of working together throughout the race. Each mile flew by. One by one, the athletes in the pack I was running with started to fall off, but I was remaining steady. Around mile 7, I start to hear cheers, and I make a note about how far behind Dakotah's cheers and footsteps are. I know she's chasing me, and I know she closes well. I tell myself, don't give up, don't let her catch you. I'm running with fear, but it seems to be motivating me to keep my pace. We come up the final hill, and I can smell the finish line, even though it's not yet in sight. I lengthen my stride, swing my arms more aggressively. I am winning this race, I tell myself. As I made the final turn and saw the finish line, I felt an unfamiliar surge of emotion. I had never been in this position before. What do? Do I just cross the finish line? Do I throw my hands up? I've never been in first place at a big race like this. As I cross the line, I throw my hands in the air, gloves in hand. 1 hour, 7 minutes, 33 seconds later, I can now call myself champion. My head is in my hands, tears streaming down my face. I'm so proud of myself. I was brave enough to take the win today. I embrace my boyfriend, mom, dad, Dakotah, and of course Grandma, who is waiting for me with a bouquet of flowers. Winning this race was more than just crossing the finish line first. It was about resilience, self-belief, and gratitude for my support system, for the lessons learned from past disappointments, and for the joy of running itself. Thank you, Grandmas, for being such an integral part of my journey and so many other people's journeys. Thank you.